Men over 60, let me ask you something real. Have you ever noticed that what once felt easy, effortless, even natural, now feels different? Maybe you used to finish without thinking twice, but these days, it leaves you more drained than satisfied. Maybe your sleep feels lighter, your energy fades faster, or your prostate feels more sensitive than it used to. And yet, you tell yourself, it's normal, it's harmless, it's just part of being a man. But what if it's not harmless? What if the very thing you thought was safe, even healthy, is quietly chipping away at your strength, your confidence, and your independence? See, here's the truth most men never hear: it's not the act itself that's risky. It's the way your aging body responds to it after 60. The same habits that worked for you in your 30s and 40s can, without warning, start working against you. And the damage? It doesn't shout. It creeps in slowly, silently. Until one day, you wonder why your energy is gone, why your desire is weaker, why your prostate is giving you problems, and why your nights are broken by trips to the bathroom. I'm Dr. David Jarrard, a urologist with over 30 years of experience helping men protect their vitality, their prostate health, and their confidence long after retirement. And I've seen this story unfold more times than I can count. Strong men, men who built families, careers, and legacies, only to be blindsided by something they thought was innocent. That's why this matters. Because most men think masturbation after 60 is harmless. But the reality? There are 5 subtle mistakes that can chip away at your health without you even realizing it. And unless you catch them, the warning signs only show up when it's already too late. And here's the part that should make you lean in. By the end of this video, you'll know the 5 dangerous mistakes men over 60 must avoid. And one of them, it's something even most doctors never warn their patients about. So before we dive in, let me ask you directly, do you believe masturbation gets riskier with age, or do you think it's just a myth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because your answer might surprise someone else watching this. And if you're serious about staying strong, sharp, and independent in your golden years, don't forget to subscribe to Golden 70s Health, where I bring you science-backed insights that every man over 60 deserves to know. Mistake number 1, forcing erections or rushing to climax. I remember a man who sat across from me one afternoon, shoulders heavy, voice low. He said, "Doctor, I have to push harder now just to feel something. I used to be fine, now it's a struggle." He thought he was finding a way around his body's changes. What he didn't know was that he was creating more damage than relief. Here's what happens: after 60, blood flow to the penis naturally decreases. The tissues aren't as elastic, the nerves respond more slowly, and recovery takes longer. But many men try to make up for it by forcing, gripping tighter, moving faster, straining for a climax as if sheer effort could bring back what once came easily. It doesn't work that way. What feels like effort is actually stress. Every time you force your body before it's ready, you risk tiny microtears in the penile tissue, irritation of the urethra, and even strain around the pelvic floor muscles. Over time, this silent wear and tear adds up, and the most vulnerable target of all is your prostate. That small gland becomes more fragile with age, and when you keep pushing against it, the result can be inflammation, swelling, and discomfort that lingers long after the moment has passed. Now, here's the misconception most men carry: they think pushing harder shows stamina. They think, if I can just power through, it means I'm still strong. But in reality, the opposite is true. That force doesn't prove strength, it accelerates decline. It makes erections weaker, recovery slower, and sensitivity duller. The very thing you're fighting to hold on to slips further away with every forced attempt. So what's the alternative? Slow down. Use gentler touch. Instead of chasing a quick release, focus on sensation. Give your body time to respond, let arousal build naturally, and pay attention to the signals your body is sending. After 60, self-pleasure isn't a sprint, it's a conversation with your body. And when you treat it with patience and respect, you'll discover that pleasure can actually return, not vanish. Because the goal isn't to prove you're still 30. The goal is to feel alive, connected, and comfortable in the body you have today. And that begins the moment you stop forcing and start listening. But even if you manage to slow down and let your body guide you, there's another mistake men fall into. And this one doesn't just affect your body. It rewires your brain itself. Mistake number 2, relying on pornography alone. I'll never forget a 67-year-old man who looked me in the eye and said, "Doctor, I don't feel anything anymore unless I'm watching something online." Even then, it's not the same. His words carried a weight of frustration and quiet shame. What he didn't realize was that his problem wasn't age alone, it was what he had been training his brain to depend on. Here's the science behind it. Pornography stimulates your brain's reward system by flooding it with dopamine, the same chemical that drives motivation and pleasure. But after 60, your nervous system is already more delicate, less adaptable. When you keep exposing it to high-speed, high-intensity images, your brain adapts by becoming less sensitive. That means the same screen that once excited you now barely stirs a reaction. Real touch, real intimacy, the things that once made you feel alive, begin to fade into the background. And here's the trap. Many men believe porn is harmless stress relief, just a private escape. They tell themselves, it's better than nothing. It doesn't hurt anyone. But what they don't see is how it dulls their natural desire, steals their connection with a partner, and slowly replaces real closeness with something that leaves them emptier each time. The cost isn't just physical, it's emotional. Men begin to feel isolated, less capable of intimacy, and in some cases, even depressed without knowing why. So what can you do? The answer isn't to cut yourself off from pleasure, but to retrain your brain. Reduce your dependence on the screen. Reawaken your inner world with memory, with fantasy, with imagination. Try reading something sensual, or simply letting your body respond without artificial stimulation. You may be surprised how much life returns when you stop overwhelming your mind with what it can no longer process in the same way. Because the truth is, your brain is adaptable, even after 60. You can still feel, still connect, still enjoy intimacy. But it requires stepping away from the easy flood of dopamine and rediscovering what touch and closeness were meant to feel like. And while this mistake can quietly rewire your mind, there's another one that drains your body in an even more obvious way. Because sometimes, it isn't about what you're watching at all, it's about how often you're doing it. Mistake number 3, masturbating too frequently. I once had a 71-year-old man come into my office. He looked healthy on the outside, but his eyes told another story. He said, "Doctor, I'm constantly tired. I snap at people. I can't focus on the things I used to enjoy." I thought maybe it was just old age catching up with me. But as we talked more, a pattern began to show. He was releasing nearly every single day, sometimes more than once. He believed it was helping him relax, but in reality, it was quietly draining him. Here's the science. After 60, your body doesn't recover the way it used to. Hormone levels shift, your nervous system resets more slowly, and your energy reserves aren't as quick to refill. In your 30s or 40s, you could bounce back within hours. But after 60, frequent release can deplete testosterone, disrupt your sleep cycles, and leave your body running on empty. Instead of feeling more relaxed, you feel weaker, foggier, and less motivated. The misconception here is common. Many men believe the more often they release, the healthier their prostate will be. They've heard that ejaculation clears things out, keeps the system working. And while there's some truth for younger men, the same rule doesn't apply after 60. In fact, overdoing it doesn't protect your prostate, it drains your vitality. It robs you of energy you need for walking, thinking clearly, or simply enjoying your day. So what's the better way? Balance. For some men, cutting back to once or twice a week makes a remarkable difference. Energy returns, clarity improves, mood feels steadier. And it's not about denial or shame. It's about listening to your body's rhythm. Give yourself space to recharge, and you'll find that your experiences become more satisfying, not less. Because pleasure at this stage of life isn't about how often you can do it, it's about how deeply you can enjoy it when you do. But sometimes, it's not just frequency that causes harm. Sometimes the real damage comes from what you forget to protect during and after. And that brings us to the next mistake. Mistake number 4, ignoring prostate health. A man once came to me with what he called a small complaint. Nothing sharp, nothing sudden. Just a nagging heaviness after climax. He said, "Doctor, it's like I never feel fully relieved. It's not pain, but it doesn't feel right." He didn't know it, but what he was describing was his prostate quietly inflamed. The prostate is small, about the size of a walnut, but its role in male health is enormous. And after 60, it becomes more vulnerable than ever. The problem is, most men don't connect their discomfort back to their habits. They blame it on aging, or diet, or just the passing years. But often, it's the way they approach self-pleasure that's adding fuel to the fire. Here's why. When you masturbate while sitting in a slouched position, or when you apply too much pressure to the perineum, that's the area between the scrotum and the anus, you put stress directly on the prostate. Over time, that pressure can irritate the gland. Add in another common mistake, skipping urination after climax, and you've created the perfect storm. Seminal fluid and bacteria that should be flushed out stay behind, increasing the risk of lingering inflammation or even chronic prostatitis. And here's the misconception: most men assume prostate trouble is just part of getting older. Or they think it's only tied to diet, genetics, or family history. But the truth is, your daily habits, even the private ones no one talks about, can quietly decide how healthy and comfortable your prostate feels. So what can you do? The fixes are small, but powerful. Urinate after climax. It flushes the urethra and relieves hidden pressure on the gland. Pay attention to your position. Don't sit slouched or twisted in a way that compresses your lower body. Avoid pressing hard against the perineum. Treat the area with care, not force. These subtle shifts can protect not only your prostate, but also your bladder control, your comfort, and your independence. I've seen men in their 70s regain peace in their bodies simply by making these adjustments. No medication, no drastic measures. Just awareness. But even if you manage all this, slowing down, avoiding the screen, cutting back on frequency, and protecting your prostate, there's still one final mistake that almost nobody talks about. And it might be the most dangerous of them all. Mistake number 5, treating your body like it's still 30. I've met many men in their 60s and 70s who sit across from me, shoulders firm, eyes steady, and say, "Doctor, I've always done it this way. Why should I change now?" That stubbornness, that refusal to adapt, is often the very thing that wears them down. They keep using the same pressure, the same speed, the same expectations they had decades ago, as if their bodies never changed. But bodies do change, and ignoring that truth doesn't keep you young. It only accelerates decline. Here's the science. After 60, testosterone production is lower. Nerve sensitivity isn't the same. Recovery takes days, not hours. Your tissues need more care, not more force. The nervous system, once quick to reset, now slows down. The rules that governed you at 30 or 40 no longer apply at 65 or 70. And yet, so many men cling to those old routines, believing that if it worked before, it should work now. That belief is a trap. The misconception here is simple: men think repeating what worked in youth proves they've still got it. But in truth, forcing old patterns ignores the wisdom of the body. It's like trying to drive a classic car at full speed down a modern highway. The engine wasn't built for it anymore. Without adjusting, you wear it out faster, and instead of preserving strength, you break it down. So what's the alternative? You don't give up, you adapt. Relearn self-intimacy in a way that honors where your body is today. That means patience. That means letting arousal build slowly instead of rushing. It means exploring gentler touch, allowing pauses, paying attention to how your body responds instead of how you think it should respond. Think of it less like a race to the finish line and more like a conversation with yourself, one where you listen as much as you act. And here's the secret: when men finally let go of that old pressure, something remarkable happens. They discover that pleasure isn't gone, it's different. Sometimes deeper, more subtle, more connected. By slowing down, they often find intimacy that feels richer than it ever did in their youth. Because at this stage, it isn't about performance. It isn't about proving you can do what you did at 30. It's about enjoying the body you have now, with all its wisdom, all its resilience, and yes, even its limits. And this is where it becomes about more than just avoiding mistakes. This is where it becomes about your quality of life. For many men, realizing that their body has changed feels like a personal loss. It feels like a piece of their identity has slipped away. They look in the mirror and see a man who doesn't respond the way he used to. They feel weaker. They feel ashamed. Some even feel disconnected from themselves. As though the body they've lived in all these years has suddenly become unfamiliar. And that's a heavy truth to carry. But let me tell you something important: this isn't weakness. This isn't failure. This isn't the end of your strength as a man. What you're experiencing isn't your body breaking down, it's your body speaking to you in a new language. It's asking for patience, for gentleness, for care. It's not telling you that you're done, it's telling you that you need to adapt. And that shift, that listening, is not weakness at all. It's wisdom. Instead of forcing yourself to keep repeating old routines, ask yourself a new question: what does my body need today? Maybe it needs slower build-up. Maybe it needs more time to recover. Maybe it needs you to focus less on speed and outcome, and more on comfort, awareness, and presence. When you begin to listen this way, something remarkable happens: your confidence begins to return. Pleasure doesn't vanish. In fact, it often deepens, becoming more meaningful than it ever was when you rushed or forced. I've seen it firsthand. Men in their 70s, even their 80s, who thought they were finished, who thought intimacy was behind them, discover energy and joy they hadn't felt in decades. And they found it not by pushing harder, not by pretending to be 30 again, but by slowing down and letting their bodies guide the way. This is the hope I want to leave you with. Change is possible at any age. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not less of a man because your body asks for something different now. In fact, you're more of a man when you listen, because that choice, that respect, that patience, is what turns decline into renewal. And this is why it's not just about avoiding mistakes. It's about reclaiming your quality of life, your energy, your confidence, and your connection with yourself and with those you love. To recap, we've walked through the 5 mistakes that quietly harm men after 60. Forcing climax before your body is ready. Relying only on pornography to feel arousal. Overdoing frequency until your energy and testosterone are drained. Ignoring the prostate, that small but vital gland that holds so much of your comfort. And finally, refusing to adapt, treating your body like it's still 30 when it's asking you to listen and change. These 5 habits may seem small, but over time, they can chip away at your strength, your confidence, and even your independence. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these mistakes do you think most men ignore? And are there others that deserve to be on this list? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story, your insight, might be exactly what another man needs to hear to turn his health around. You never know whose life you could impact just by speaking up. If this video gave you something valuable, a new perspective, a reminder, or even just the comfort of knowing you're not alone, then consider subscribing to Golden 70s Health. Here, we bring you science-backed ways to stay strong, confident, and independent after 60. Because your health, your vitality, your masculinity, they don't have an expiration date. They just need the right care, the right awareness, and the right mindset. And as we close, let me leave you with this: you still have control. You still have the power to choose habits that nourish instead of deplete. You still have the chance to protect your prostate, your energy, and your confidence. The next chapter of your life can be one of strength and wisdom, but it begins with the choices you make today. Thank you for watching. Stay strong. Stay wise. And remember, your health is still in your hands. I'll see you in the next video.